Move over to the Commanders at the Ravens, led by the King once again. Derrick Henry, 24 carries, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. After the game, Henry was hounded about this play, this play, but he's just trying to stay humble through all the success. Take a listen.
Approaching every week of focus on being 1-0, keep pushing each other, keep working hard, and let it transition to the game. But it's a humble approach for sure.
The toss left, it's kind of the icing run there at the end of this game. It seems like it's having a lot of success.
Be quiet. Be quiet. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. I think it was a handoff. It wasn't a toss.
When they get into the red zone, everybody in the stadium knows you're going to get the ball.
Stop.
How are you able?
Yeah, Lee. I mean, what?
How are you able to score?
Credit to everybody blocking. They make my job easy. It's not just me. I can't get the ball run through 11 people.
It's just another day of the office for Derrick Henry.
By the way, I actually think he could run through 11 people. Yeah, he just said there like it's not just me, they're all black. I actually think he could run through 11 people.
Run through 7 or 8 times.
There were 2 schools of thoughts coming into the preseason about Derrick Henry. There were some that were like, he's too old, he gets injured, he's one-dimensional, he's not really part of the passing game. And then there were other schools of thought, and I was in this school of thought, he was on the preseason love list, which was like, he's never been in an offense like this. He's been in Tennessee where he's seen 8-man fronts his entire life among one of the worst offensive lines in football, at least especially over the last couple of years. And so now he goes to Baltimore, and whatever you think the Ravens' offensive line is this year, it's going to be an improvement over Tennessee from last year. And oh, by the way, he's got Lamar Jackson. Like, he's never played with a quarterback as dynamic. Even when Ryan Tannehill at his peak had some rushing ability, he didn't have what Lamar has, which is just incredibly special in the NFL. And so the thought was like, hey, like some combination of like Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, and Melvin Gordon and Keaton Mitchell scored 20 rushing touchdowns on this team last year. So what could King Henry do in this offense? And so we didn't predict 20 touchdowns, but we thought double digits, 12 to 15 was certainly within range. And certainly, we're pacing towards that with Derrick Henry as well. He's, God bless King Henry because he's keeping my team in the League of Assholes alive as well. He's scored in every single game this season. He's got 8 total touchdowns already. We're only in week 6, folks. And 3 of the past 4 games, he's in 25 or more fantasy points. He currently leads the NFL in rushing. The only negative to Derrick Henry, there's always the risk of injury, but like that's true with any NFL player. It's a violent sport. And just he sometimes gets game scripted out. If they get down big, but feels like after an early season stumble, the Ravens have sort of found their footing here. And it's hard to see them getting blown out of a game again. And so as long as they're in positive or even neutral game script, Derrick Henry's going to get his. And if you were drafting today, is he the number 1 player? Is it still Saquon? It's a tough game last week for Saquon, but like,
think of the reliability of Derrick Henry.
Just every single week, the floor is so high.
Yes, the floor is so high. The crown is yours, Derrick Henry.
Is he win Offensive Player of the Year at this pace?
I think so. I think if he just stays healthy, he's like plus 150 now.
Right.
Like I think this is like, in a way, it feels unsustainable that he keeps on breaking off these huge runs, but I don't think it is because he's Derrick Henry, and you watch like the film room stuff of the way that Lamar Jackson impacts the second level of the defense. Like these linebackers, they have to honor Lamar Jackson as a runner, and it just means that Derrick Henry has a full head of steam going up against the safety backpedaling. Like, what do you think is going to happen? So I think this is somewhat sustainable. It's so weird that he could be the number 1 player in fantasy while playing 50% of the snaps. But that's basically what he's doing at the moment. It's just that he has such an incredible power to produce when he does carry the ball, and he is getting the heavy bulk of the carries. There will be there's going to be a random game where Derrick Henry is 14 for 56 and with a touchdown, and that's just his random game. But when they do have game script in their favor, which by the way they're going to, because I think they're the best team in football right now, he's just going to continue to be a monster.
Yeah, and by the way, the success of that run game opens up things for the passing game underneath. So Zay Flowers has a 36% target share in this game. He's now had at least a 25% target share in all but 1 game so far this season. He had 2 quiet games there a couple of weeks ago, but ultimately Zay Flowers, I think, is clearly the number 1 passing option in this offense that is just humming at a really high level. It's going to be what a great game next week at Tampa Bay as well. We did see the return of Mark Andrews here, Connor, but I'm sort of the mind of like, felt like so he gets the touchdown, great, fine. But his biggest play was basically a busted coverage as well. He had a 16% target share. For all the like, oh, he's back, whatever.
He
He's
wasn't
tied in
more
six.
back.
No,
Yeah,
it was 2 plays. He still played basically 51% of the snaps. He only had a 16% target share. Like, if I've hung on, I will say this. If I have Mark Andrews, if I hung tough through this, and now after this performance, I would be trying to sell high. I still want out of the Mark Andrews business.
Yeah, the snap rate's the biggest concern, right? 51% of the snaps for a team that so much of their touchdown equity goes to Henry and Lamar Jackson. This feels more of a blip on the radar than a pattern of success going forward.
Yeah, I agree. This is kind of a strange game because it was like exactly on script, right? The line pushed, a 7-point win. The total was basically right on as well. Daniels was awesome. Lamar was awesome. Henry was awesome. Terry McLaurin was really good. Zay Flowers was probably the outlier, along with Andrews a bit. But yeah, I still think the only guy you feel comfortable with in the passing attack is Flowers.
And Jayden Daniels was very good. Top 10 quarterback finish, QB8.
My storyline, Connor, I know you missed it. My storyline on Fantasy Football pregame Sunday morning was, can Jayden Daniels stand up? Like, because he's beaten up on some bad defenses. He's been great. He's been the story and the hottest quarterback in fantasy and in the NFL. But now he's on the road at Baltimore against a guy that he gets compared to a lot, and a 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson. And can he withstand the pressure both from a real-life NFL perspective, but also could he put up fantasy points against, what we think is one of the better defenses in the NFL? And the answer is yes. 21 fantasy points. He doesn't have a ton of success on the ground, just 6 for 22.
And that's the Ravens. They're going to take that away from you.
1,000%. But still finishes the week as we head into Monday Night Football. He'll be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. He's QB8 right now. Even if Rodgers and Allen have huge games, he'll still be a top 10 fantasy quarterback for the week. 4th straight game with at least 20 or more fantasy points. That's tied for the most among all players. 4th straight game with at least 280 or more total yards. We took the over on Papa Shot, or Propa Shot, I should say, on pregame, and he hits that as well. McLaurin is the big beneficiary as well. Top 3 so far, McLaurin, in end zone targets so far this season. He's averaging 18.7 fantasy points per game over the last 4 weeks. He's now scored in 3 of the past 4 games. He's Terry McScorin. That's always been one of the challenges with McLaurin throughout his career, is just no touchdowns, just because his quarterback play was so bad. But they're finding him not only early and often, but in high leverage situations. And to me, guys, I want to ask you guys this about Jayden Daniels, but I thought, even though this was a loss, and there's no such thing truly as a good loss in the NFL, but as a Commanders fan, I actually feel more encouraged about the team after this loss than I have about, okay, fine, you beat Arizona, you beat a broken down Browns team, but the Ravens are a heavyweight. The Ravens have a very legit shot to be in the Super Bowl this year, and the Commanders, even though they lost by touchdown, they answered drives. Jayden Daniels, believe it or not, actually had a higher QBR in this game than Lamar Jackson, and I thought Lamar Jackson played really well.
Yeah.
This is a team that blew out the Cowboys. Not the Cowboys. They blew out the Bills. They smoked the Bills. That's what I meant. Sorry. I got it confused with all the other teams that have blown out the Cowboys.
It's easy to do right now.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, but I mean, they smoked the Bills, right? And so I thought, I was encouraged, but I'm a homer.
They lost, the Eagles won, and the Commanders moved into favorite to win the NFC East after yesterday, just on the basis of the strength of their performance and how meh the Eagles were overall.
Right, and the Giants had a chance to kind of right their season, and they fell short. Things went right for the Commanders right now, and even in a win, we'll get to this at some point this week, but Nick Sirianni just does not make things easy for the Eagles.
Sirianni.
You have to feel really good about the Commanders right now in this division.
I do. I feel thrilled. Dallas, obviously, they've got massive problems as well, so, hail the Commanders.
Carolina next week.
Hail the Commanders, hail victory. This upcoming stretch will be really interesting. Home to Carolina, okay, good. Then home to Chicago. That'll be
Caleb Williams squaring off is must-see
and they're going to have 2 weeks to prepare because the Bears are on a bye out of the London game. Then they're at New York, at the Giants, and then home to Pittsburgh. So 2 of the next 4 really tough defenses with the Bears and the Steelers. And hopefully, listen, the Giants also play.
Giants defense looks good.
Giants defense looks good. Carolina's no slouch, but so this next 4.
That's slouchy.
A little slouchy, but whatever. I mean, anyway. But yeah, that's a game they need to win. They need to win the Carolina Panther game next week. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com. And I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched. Or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.